You're 13 years old, kneeling on a tatami mat in your family's modest samurai home in Edo, 1650, when a woman in dark silk arrives unannounced. She doesn't smile. Her eyes crawl over your face, your posture, your hands, like she's pricing a bolt of cloth. She's an otojibozu, a go-between for the shogun's inner chambers, and she's here because your father's rank as a hatamoto just became your entire future. You don't get a say. Within the week, you're packed into a palanquin headed for Edo Castle, and your mother's last words to you are, "Obey everything, trust no one." You're 13, and you're walking into the uku, the great interior, a walled fortress inside the castle where nearly 1,000 women live, and almost none of them ever leave. The gate that swallows you is called the Osuzu Roka, the bell corridor, the only passage in or out. A bell rings every time it opens. You'll learn fast that bell means someone's world just changed, for better or for very, very worse. Guards search you before you're allowed through. Not for weapons exactly, just anything sharp. Even hairpins are confiscated near the shogun's chambers. Because in a place this beautiful, everyone already knows how easily beauty turns into a blade. You're marched past walls thick enough to survive a siege, and it hits you. This isn't a palace. It's a cage, with really good lighting. Inside, you're assigned to the lowest rank, a servant girl under senior attendants who look at you like you're furniture that talks too much. Your job is simple. Fetch, clean, kneel, disappear. Speak only when spoken to, and even then, choose your words like you're defusing a bomb. The uku runs on hierarchy so rigid, it makes a caste system look casual. Miss a beau, use the wrong honorific, sit one cushion too close to a superior, and you'll spend the night scrubbing floors while she reports you to the elders. And the elders are not people you want reporting on you. You learn the map of fear quickly. The Honmaru, where the shogun and his official wife live. The Ninomaru, where the concubines and the shogun's mother reside, women who've already survived what you're about to face. The Nishinomaru, for the heir and the retired shogun's household. Cross into the wrong section without permission, and you won't get a warning. You'll get a punishment memorable enough that nobody else tries it. The rules aren't posted on a wall. They're written into every glance the older women give you. You're 15 now, and you've been promoted. Barely. You're an ochuro, a personal attendant, which sounds impressive until you realize it just means you're now close enough to the shogun to actually be chosen. And being chosen is the whole terrifying point. Every woman here is auditioning for a role most of them will never get. Concubine. Because only a handful of the thousands inside these walls ever share the shogun's bed, and fewer still ever bear him a child. The rest spend decades as maids, sewing kimono and pouring tea for women who used to be exactly where they are now. You catch your first glimpse of the real power in the uku, and it isn't the shogun. It's an old woman named after her title, Joro Otoshiori, senior elder, and her word here outranks generals. She was a concubine once. Now she decides who gets summoned to the shogun's bedroom and who spends another year invisible. Cross her, and your career here ends before it starts. Charm her, and you might actually get a future. You watch her interview a nervous new girl in the hallway, and the girl's hands are shaking so hard, her tea rattles the tray. You understand completely. You felt that shake yourself. The rumors start early, and they never really stop. A girl 2 rooms down was caught passing a letter to a guard outside the walls. Adult men, aside from the shogun, his sons, and small boys, aren't allowed past the bell corridor at all. Doesn't matter. She's gone within a day, and nobody explains where. A senior attendant tells you flatly, "Trust is a luxury this place was built to starve out of you." You're 17, and tonight, the bell rings for you. An otojibozu tells you the shogun wishes to see you, and your stomach drops through the floor. There's a procedure for this, and it's not romantic. It's practically a security protocol. You're inspected again. Hair, hands, robes, anything that could be smuggled in gets stripped away, hairpins included. The corridor to his private chamber, the Nakayoku, is short, but it feels like the longest walk of your life. You kneel where you're told to kneel. You speak only when spoken to. One wrong word, one clumsy motion, and this single night could define the rest of your years here, for better or for absolute ruin. You survive it. More than survive, actually. Weeks later, a physician confirms what the whole Ninomaru already suspected from your face. You're pregnant. And suddenly, you're not furniture anymore. You're valuable. But valuable in the uku means something very specific. It means every woman who spent years clawing toward this exact position now sees you as the thing standing between her and everything she wants. You're moved to better quarters, silk instead of cotton, attendance of your own. It should feel like winning. It feels like being watched by wolves who've learned to smile. An older concubine, polite as poison, visits to congratulate you and spends the entire conversation asking questions that feel suspiciously like an interrogation. Who approved your move to the Nakaoku that night? Who witnessed it? You answer carefully. In here, careless answers get repeated to the wrong people, and the wrong people decide whether you keep your rank or your freedom, or in the worst years of this system's history, your life. You give birth to a son, and for one single day, the uku's rigid hierarchy actually bends in your favor. Attendants who ignored you now bow. But you've read the history whispered in these halls. A concubine's entire value rides on that child surviving to adulthood, and infancy in the 17th century forgives nobody, prince or pauper. You don't sleep properly for a year. Every cough, every fever, every silence in his crib sends you sprinting. By 22, you've climbed from anonymous servant to a woman with real standing, and standing in the uku is a target, not a trophy. This is where your story brushes against something that actually happened, a scandal that shook the entire shogunate. A senior lady of the inner chambers, a woman named Ejima, holding a position of real trust, was caught in a secret relationship with a kabuki actor from outside the walls, a man she was never, under any circumstance, allowed to meet unsupervised. When it surfaced, it wasn't treated as gossip. It was treated as a threat to the entire system's foundation. Dozens of people connected to the affair were punished, some exiled, some executed, and Ejima herself, once one of the most powerful women inside these walls, was stripped of everything and sent away in disgrace. You hear the story retold in hushed voices for years afterward, always ending the same way. Power in the uku is borrowed, never owned, and the interest gets collected eventually. You take the lesson personally. You watch your own son's position in this world with new eyes. A daimyo's household, a shogun's household, it doesn't matter. Sons of concubines have been killed, adopted out, or quietly erased from succession lines when politics demanded it. Under this era's system, only one heir usually inherits, and every other son becomes a bargaining chip, a hostage to alliance, or worse, an inconvenience. You start teaching your boy the same lesson Kasuga no Tsubone, the woman who built this entire system a generation before you, once lived by. Loyalty is currency. Spend it wisely, or don't spend it at all. By 28, the girl who once shook pouring tea in a hallway is gone. You've survived a decade behind walls thicker than most castles, in a hierarchy where a hairpin was once considered a deadly weapon, and a whispered rumor could end a life faster than any blade. You've watched women rise on a single night summons and vanish just as fast on a single mistake. Your son is older now, his position secured, at least for today, because in here, secured, always comes with an expiration date nobody tells you in advance. You'll likely never leave these walls again, not really, not until age or illness or politics finally makes the decision for you. But you leave something behind that the Uku's own historians would later call its quiet secret. This system, built entirely around men's succession, around a shogun's bloodline, was actually run day to day, hour to hour, by women. The elders decided who entered his chamber. The elders decided who got exiled. The elders decided who got remembered and who got erased from the records entirely. You became one of them. A ghost with real power, in a palace that pretended power only ever wore a sword.